The Gomu Gomu no Mi, originally known as the Hito Hito no Mi model, Nika, is a mythical Zoan-type devil fruit that allows the user to transform into the legendary sun god Nika and gain his attributes, namely a body with the properties of rubber. The world government renamed it in an effort to erase the fruit's original name from history, and as a result it was reclassified as a paramecia-type fruit that ostensibly turns the user into a rubber human, Gomu Ningen. Nika is the name of a mythical warrior that was once revered as the sun god by slaves from ancient times. He was first mentioned by Who's Who heard about the legend from a prison guard during his imprisonment by the world government. There is no record of whether this figure is a myth or existed in ancient times. There exists a mythical Zoan-type devil fruit called the Hito Hito no Mi model, Nika, that allows the consumer to gain Nika's traits and abilities. For unknown reasons, the world government is extremely interested in this fruit and has even covered up its identity by renaming it to the Gomu Gomu no Mi, preventing other parties from garnering special interest to the fruit and seeking it out themselves, such that not even members of the four emperors and their respective crews seem to be aware. Currently, the fruit's power is in the possession of Monkey D. Luffy. The fruit was originally a treasure sought by the world government for over 800 years, until it was stolen by Shanks and his crew in recent history. It was then accidentally eaten 12 years ago by the series protagonist, Monkey D. Luffy. Appearance: the Gomu Gomu no Mi is a violet, spherical-shaped fruit with a stem sprouting out of the top, with swirls that go in a curly, S-like pattern. Its overall appearance greatly resembles a Yubari king. While its final design has the characteristic devil fruit swirls all over it, the fruit was initially drawn without them in the first version of Romance Dawn. Transformations: due to its unique nature, this mythical Zoan devil fruit grants the user a baseline body with the properties of rubber. However, due to the fruit's true power being dormant, the user's human body is limited to restrictions and transformations similar in nature to most paramecias. However, after achieving an awakening, the fruit's true power as a mythical Zoan is unleashed, giving the user a new transformation where their hair and clothes turn white, their eyes glow red with white ring-like pupils, and white clouds float around their neck, giving them the appearance of the mythical sun god, Nika, granting their already rubbery body more strength and freedom, turning the user into a warrior of liberation. Kaiho no Senshi. Strengths and weaknesses. Strengths: the fruit's major strength, as demonstrated by Luffy, is that the user's body permanently adopts the properties of rubber. Their body can stretch, bend, bounce, inflate, and twist like said substance, even when the user himself is nullified. Unlike most other devil fruits, the effects of the Gomu Gomu no Mi are always active, making the user's body permanently rubbery. The user becomes almost completely immune to blunt damage, including hand-to-hand combat, blunt weapons, bullets, and even cannonballs, all of which will just bounce off from his skin. Situations like falls from great heights and heavy collisions that would kill a normal person end up not being lethal or even painful, and certain traps and hazards are rendered ineffective considering the user's enhanced flexibility. The fruit enables all parts of the consumer's body to behave like rubber, including organs, meaning that certain actions that otherwise would be impossible to do with a normal human body, such as pumping one's own blood or bones with air, can be achieved through this ability for extra speed or power. Furthermore, thanks to rubber's natural insulating properties, the user is also immune to electrical attacks, such as those from the Goro Goro no Mi, Electro, and Zeus. This immunity to electricity allows the user of the Gomu Gomu no Mi to hit the user of the Goro Goro no Mi, an electricity Logia, without needing haki. Those same properties may also grant some resistance towards underwater pressure, letting the user fight while surrounded by a deep underwater environment despite the usual devil fruit weakness. The user's ability to stretch and twist like rubber to extreme lengths not only makes them immune to injuries that originate from such, but it also grants them the skill to rebound from hard surfaces or reach people that are far away from their position. For offense, stretching allows the user to drastically increase the range of what would otherwise be considered a powerful close-range attack, turning it into a devastating mid-range or long-range attack. A stretched limb can be used to store potential energy like a stretched spring, increasing the velocity by stretching their arm back, resulting in increased power. Luffy has shown a limited ability of moving in mid-air, by grabbing onto something with an extended limb and pulling himself away from what could have been a fatal attack. This gives the user the option of several jumping and airborne attacks that would have been disadvantageous to most other people. In the anime, Luffy has used his stretching abilities to inhale great amounts of air to thus exhale a big gust of wind. This application of his powers was used to blow away Marigold's poisonous vapor from her venom spit and Magellan's poison breath. Awakening. Once the fruit is awakened, the user undergoes a drastic transformation. Their hair becomes fiery and white, their eyes become more manic-like, and they gain a strange wisp around their body. They also gain the ability to freely alter their physique however they desire, being able to inflate their muscles without the need to blow air into them. In addition, they can alter the environment around them in a similar way, such as using the ground to deflect oncoming attacks. This also extends to living beings, as Luffy can manipulate flesh as if it were rubbery. Similar to previous developments of him using the fruit, Luffy dubs his awakening Gear 5. Kaido likens the awakening of the Gomu Gomu no Mi to being like a Paramecia's awakening while simultaneously displaying a Zoan's ability to transform. According to the five elders, the fruit had not been awakened for centuries prior to Luffy's having done so. They consider that preventing the fruit from awakening might be worth incurring the wrath of Kaido, one of the four emperors, suggesting that they greatly fear the fruit's power. The legend states that Nika was a great warrior. In his silhouette appearance, he was seen holding a sword and a spear. Nika's signature trait was his body having the composition of rubber, which allowed him to fight in just about any manner he could think of. The variety of ways one could fight with this ability can be seen with Monkey D. Luffy and his usage of the fruit modeled after Nika. Weaknesses. Despite all the great advantages the user gets by using his fruit, there are a number of weaknesses. One major risk of the user's powers is that their stretched limbs take a moment to retract back into place, leaving them vulnerable to attacks in the moments when their limbs are stretched, as Buggy and Kuro both took advantage of early on in the series. Luffy, however, has adapted his fighting style to minimize this risk. One of the biggest weaknesses that Gomu Gomu no Mi users possess is their susceptibility to cutting attacks and bladed weapons. By his own admission to Enel, much to Nami's annoyance, and as evidenced against Cracker, Katakuri and Kaido, it has been consistently portrayed that Luffy has a vulnerability to cutting attacks. It should be noted however that this does not mean that Gomu Gomu no Mi users are more weak to these things than the average person, and in fact, Luffy is fairly durable even against bladed attacks. However, the Gomu Gomu no Mi's effectiveness against blunt attacks simply does not apply to cutting attacks, even when coated by Haki, allowing them to deal critical damage to Luffy. Just like other Devil Fruit users, the user is also susceptible to Busashoku Haki. However, the usage of Haki only nullifies the user's ability to absorb blunt attacks, it does not revert the user's body to normal flesh. Through the use of Busashoku Haki, Luffy's grandfather was able to hurt him using only his fist, though Garp attributed this to love. When Luffy's crewmates, usually Nami, get angry at him, their punches are able to bypass Luffy's immunity to blunt attacks, although this is purely for comedic effect. Another shortcoming noted by Doflamingo is that when Busashoku Haki is applied to a part of Luffy's body, it stops being rubbery. This is proven with Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Thor elephant gun, where, despite rubber being a natural insulator of electricity, the Busashoku Haki enhanced attack itself discharges it. However, this weakness is negated by Gear 4, which harmonizes Luffy's rubbery body with his Haki, making him similar to an iron balloon. Coming into contact with a user of the Yami Yami no Mi, which has the power to completely nullify all other Devil Fruit powers, outright disables a Gomu Gomu no Mi's rubbery defense. This was shown when Blackbeard simply grabbed Luffy with his hand and then tossed him into the ground, causing him to bleed. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.